All right, so somebody by the name of Tira Young developed an activity, and it's called the Privilege Walk. And you might have heard of it. But essentially, I believe she was a college professor. Don't quote me on that, but I think she was, and she wanted to help her college students understand privilege, and not just white privilege, but privilege surrounding all identities. And so what she did was she developed a set of questions, and you can see some of them. I don't know if this is an inclusive, exhaustive list or not, but you can see some of them. And so she had all the students stand in a straight line at the back of or maybe it was probably in the middle of the classroom. So all students stood at the same place in a straight line, and then she would ask these questions. If you're right-handed, take one step forward, right? Which demonstrates people who are right-handed have an advantage. I am a left-handed person, and I experience the advantage that right-handed people have often, particularly when I'm trying to use scissors. Most scissors are right-handed. When I write on my piece of paper, if I'm writing in pencil, I will often smudge, right? Because my hand right here will blur the lead. And so I think about the advantage that right-handed people have when they're writing. But anyways, so she asked these series of questions, and you can read them. And in the end, what you had was some people who were at the very front of the room, and then some people who are at the very back of the room. And it was a very powerful visual experience for students to understand how their privilege has helped them along the way. Okay, so what I did was I went through and I looked at these questions, and I just kind of highlighted the identities that stick out. And so you can kind of read them, but they basically encompass all the identities that we talked about, along with socioeconomic status, skin color, religion, ability, if they have a mental health concern, substance use. So it really addresses all of that and helps students, in this example, help the students understand what privilege is, what privileges they might have, and how their privilege has potentially impacted them, or at least it's a good starting point. So I don't know when the Privilege Walk was developed, but since that time it has received some criticism, mostly because it can make the individuals that already feel marginalized, possibly by their skin color, religion, gender, whatever. It can make those people who are already feeling marginalized further feel marginalized, and in a public setting, right? Because in the end, those people who come from disadvantaged backgrounds are at the very back of the room. And so it can be very demeaning for those individuals. It's a good exercise for white men, for example, to understand privilege. But for the people from, minority groups, it can be very, very demeaning. So I still think that this has value to bring awareness, and I still think that you can ask these questions, not to students, but maybe with, coworkers or in a professional development type setting, in a way that isn't offensive and doesn't create or help the other people feel marginalized. One way that I did it, I did this in a professional development with some of my staff members. And what we did was we went into the zone. I made everybody's name anonymous. And so then that kind of took away, the faces of it. And then we did the privilege walk in the zone. Still, I think there are limitations to that experience, but I was trying to kind of eliminate things being so visible. So just a thought. I've listed some really nice self-reflection questions I didn't come up with these. I found these online, and I am just noticing that the source isn't cited, so I'll be sure to add that source before I publish this. Um, but I came across it in an article from the National Association of School Psychologists, and it was a really great article just about privilege and understanding how privilege impacts schools. And just list some, thought-provoking questions that might help you realize or better understand your own personal privilege.